r/AskReddit, what's a red flag when looking for a job? If the job description has about 20 items of which one is sales, your job is going to be sales. Earning potential is stressed over current salary. Master's degree preferred for an entry-level job. Making jokes about overtime and crunch time. Guaranteed it's going to be a nights and weekends are optional, but not actually optional, place. Initially unpaid, but will result in full-time offer upon completion of XYZ. We work hard and play hard. It actually means all work and for sure no play. Hiring lots of people on the same position. Everyone who calls gets a job. Often means the job is either bullshit or they're setting you up to compete for the actual job. When they shit-talk previous employees, they're going to do it to you. Always ask them why the person you are replacing left the job. The way they answer this could be a red flag. We are a family here, which means this is how they try to make up for the shitty pay and long hours. I got a call from a Subway I applied to telling me my interview was in 10 minutes. That was the first I heard from them after submitting my application. A former co-worker shared this tidbit with me years ago and it works wonders. Try to schedule your in-person interview as late in the afternoon as possible, relevant to your position. If you're expecting a 9-to-5 job, schedule your interview for 4 o'clock or 4:30. You probably discussed after-hours work etc. during the interview. When you are done, you should be able to look around. Are people still working? Is the parking lot empty? You can match up the evidence with what was claimed during the interview and from that, judge how realistic the entire job description is based on how they treated the after-hours work. This was a red flag I had during an interview process once. I was doing a phone interview for an IT position and the person I was interviewing with basically changed the details of the job during the interview. Instead of the first shift hours the position promised, he immediately went into saying it would be 6+ months before the opportunity for first shift would even be a possibility. Also, he was big into asking how dedicated I was to jobs. The idea of weekend shifts, again, not in the original description, kept coming up and how everyone had to be a team player and help out on weekends when needed. The kicker was when he started talking about how many hours he worked. He was bragging that he was up at 6 a.m. every day working, then he'd go into the office for the day, come home to see his family for dinner, and get right back to work until 10 to 11 p.m. every night. I had never been turned off from a job faster in my life. He asked me to think things over and he'd send me some paperwork via email. Needless to say, I called him the next morning and declined the job. It was the worst interview process I'd ever been in. Couple of things. Open interviews. Admittedly I've fallen for this a few times but I was young and stupid. It's clear they have a high turnover so they're trying to secure as many people as they can. Most of the time these open interview jobs don't have salaries, just commission. Refusal or reluctancy to share details over the phone. This is what usually ends up in you turning up to an open interview. If they withhold information about the role, what you'll be doing etc., that's a huge red flag. They just want to get you in the door for an interview to pressure you into joining. If you ask them what the pay is and they start off with what you could be making after so much time and they start rambling about the raise process, run the other way. Looking for rock stars in the job description, unless of course the posting is in fact for a position to be a rock star. Arrived for an interview not too long ago. Showed up 15 minutes early and had all my certs to prove training. Waited over 20 minutes before the secretary led me to a conference room. Waited another 40 minutes and got fed up. Quality manager walked in as I was getting up to leave. He was very offended when I told him he had wasted my time and I would never accept a position after being left to wait almost an hour while having an appointment. Job description: you will be in charge of the online marketing. Because of that, we expect that you will also be the web developer, Photoshopper, community manager, coffee maker and dick sucker. That kind of crap will tell you if that business understands the role they are looking to fill or are just expecting some kind of magical entity that will do everything online related by himself. Any job that requires an upfront cost. This is a telltale sign that you are getting wrapped up into a MLM pyramid scheme. Manager who doesn't really interview you or who doesn't take the interview seriously. They are on their phone the whole time, don't ask any questions, are too casual. Edited. Too casual doesn't mean creating a relaxed environment or rapport with interview candidate. Too casual, in my experience, was the guy, director of marketing, wear jeans with a hole near the crotch and sitting with his legs open, on his phone the whole time, spitting chew into a can on his desk, or the guys who have interviewed me and littered the interview with F-bombs and other vulgarities, or talked shit about our known common acquaintances, things like that. I turned down a second interview for a position in which the interviewer said something to the effect of, if your boss emails you on a Friday night, you don't have to respond. But you know how that looks. Made it pretty clear that they expect work to be your first priority. When they say you could be earning 6 figures in less than a year. Requires 10 years experience, 2 master's degrees, start 8.50 hours. I had a team lead interview me for a contract once say bluntly, "You don't want to work here. It's horrible." He was right and still undersold the experience somehow. Family owned and operated. The family members will not be held to the same standards as you. You walk in and none of the employees greet you, if not outright ignore you. You realize it's a very cliquey place. Fuck office politics. I can think of a few specific examples. When I was younger, I was in between my dad's house and my eventually wife, and then ex-wife's parents' house, kind of living both places, but I was transitioning to move in with her family. We lived about 50 minutes apart. She stayed with me on occasion at my dad's. 2. This all becomes relevant. I applied at the McDonald's in her town just trying to do anything. Well, I got a call one morning at 7 a.m. MCD manager says interview in 25 minutes. We were at my dad's and that call woke me up. So I told him, look, I'm almost an hour away, there's no way I make that. He said, then I guess you don't want the job that badly. Today me would have told him to jog off. But back then me jumped in the shower and together me and my ex-lady sped 120 through country roads and somehow managed to make it just in time. I gave my best damn interview. He never called me back. A job for online Apple tech support through a third party working from home. In the interview they told me they'd send me a Mac to work from and a phone to use. I was a little smarter than the me in example A, so I had questions. My main red flag popped when she said you're responsible for the equipment and the cost of any repairs if it breaks. Okay, makes sense, but I asked, are these new devices? She danced around the question, but I was persistent. Finally she said no. They're refurbished. So my next question was, so if you send this Mac to me and day 2 it stops working because of some non-damage issue, do I still have to pay the repair? Yeah, apparently I would, and these suckers are not cheap. After that she said, I don't know if this job is right for you because I asked strong questions to see if I could get fed over by you guys. Yeah, maybe not. DL. Dr. McManager on a power trip didn't even call me back after I went double the speed limit to make his outrageous time demand and sketchy work from home job. Wanted to give me possibly janky hardware and then charge me if it stopped working. Got defensive when I asked if that was really the case. I interviewed for a company that had a recruiter after me pretty hard. The company was just moving into my market and the reviews on Glassdoor definitely mentioned people being frustrated with the bro culture. All of my interviews were over FaceTime with the manager showing up in their pajamas from home and admitting that since the company is still growing, the workload was pretty much 7 days a week until you got your new team hired and running. It just wasn't very professional and it was obvious they didn't have structure or care about people's time. I also don't trust companies that brag about things like Nerf gun fights around the office and constant happy hour events. Those perks are fun, but it's clear when that's all they talk about in the job posting that they're trying to distract you from other issues. I need to see that your company culture is enriching and creates success, not free lunches. When looking at compensation figures, bear in mind that up to X includes the number 0. Places who always say they're hiring and always taking applications, but you never actually see anyone new being trained or anything. It means people are quitting constantly and management isn't hiring new people, so they are critically understaffed on top of poorly managed. If the job asks for money to begin, we'll hide it this behind. Oh, you know, we just need $90 for the piss test, and $180 for the marketing training. Definitely not talking from my scammed ass's personal experience. I think it's a weird question to ask a prospective employer, but an important one. What are your company values? It's kinda like asking on a first date your date's life philosophy. But man, it becomes evident when a company has no values. And if you don't have anything to strive for other than $1, your employees won't last. If you're the kind of person who likes a 9-to-5 job, this may not be right for you. If you are expected to work right off without sufficient training, it reflects poorly on the company's management and likely also means that they don't care about the employees. Unfortunately, I have worked for a couple of places that hired roughly 75+ people 3 times per week at several locations just to keep up with turnover. Long personality quizzes during the application. They're a huge red flag that the manager is incompetent. Desk task that looks like real work they need to be done. I was recently, roughly 2 months ago, given a job offer from a company I was really interested in. The job sounded great, was in a career path I was originally hoping for when graduating, and was back in my hometown so I could see some old friends and family regularly. When they made me an offer, it was a pretty big pay cut from what I'm currently making. Actual salary would have been flat out even. I hate my current job, so that would have been okay by me. However, I would be losing a week of vacation, a week of paid sick time, getting slightly worse benefits, and half of what my current company offers in 401k matching. When I asked what was available for negotiation, they got mad at me. In fact, they expected me to make this life-altering decision in 24 hours with little to no questions asked. And got even more mad that I wanted to negotiate my life instead of just say yes or no. So, I ended up just walking away. I hate my current bosses, but not enough to walk away from 4 weeks of vacation and an extra week of sick leave. And especially not for, given the signs, people who will treat me the exact same way as my bosses. If they ask you to pay for training, that's usually a red flag that it's a MLM or pyramid scheme. If they ask you to buy stuff on commission and then it's your job to resell it, big ol' red flag. I've had job interviews where the whole company gave me a weird vibe. Lots of psychology questions like, do you like to be in control? While sitting in an office building with zero privacy. All of the offices had glass walls, so everyone could see everyone else. Needless to say, I didn't accept their offer. If it feels like you have the job before your interview. I once applied to a trainee position. I got to the interview and it felt like I had already got the position and the meeting was just for details. It was weird. He looked at my docs more as a formality, but apart from the excessive praise, I was never actually asked anything. I was told I would do a week trial with only travel expenses paid. During that week there was no training or anything. I heard some not nice things, also some illegal things. Whilst there, the boss was making plans to go out of the country for an extended period within 2 months and I'd be taking over for him as well as expected to bring in clients too. Also, I wasn't deemed to be working fast enough and therefore they wanted to pay me less than £4 an hour. I didn't go back. We are family around here. Means they are ready to gaslight the living hell out of you.